Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Platform Special Interest Group meeting. This is a group which focuses on various kinds of platform support in Jenkins, including Java integrations, operating systems, all kinds of packaging, etc., etc. So something like 2 months ago, when we were working on Java 10 support prototyping, we discussed options to have a separate interest group, because it's a major activity which requires some dedicated effort and some coordination between contributors. So we have created this special interest group in order to facilitate these discussions. If you're interested to find more information about this special interest group, there is a page on Jenkins.io, so Jenkins.io 6, and here's a platform-sig here. And here you can find links to all our resources. The members list needs to be updated, but yeah, at least you can find everything here, and there is also a link to the current recording and to the meeting agenda. So if you want to join the meeting, just join our Gitter chat, and here's a participant link posted, and yeah, here's again this meeting notes document which we will be using. By the way, Mark, you have permissions to edit the document. So we have several people on the call. My name is Oleg Minashov. I'm a SIG chair. And we also have Tracy Miranda, Mark Waite, Devin Nussbaum, and Alex Earl on the call. Maybe we will get more people later. So yeah, this is the current list of participants. And we have several topics in our agenda. So yeah, maybe we could start from really quick introductions, just to understand why people will join this special interest group. So in my case, it's easy. I'm really interested in all kinds of platform support. I started working with embedded hardware use cases. And yet I'm really interested to have some low-level features integrated in Jenkins in order to support platforms better. And of course, Java as well. Okay. Does anybody want to introduce himself?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Miranda. And I'd say I got interested in the platform-sig back at the Java 10 hackathon. And yeah, just driving Jenkins forward in terms of using new platforms of Java. And from the open source community perspective as well, I'm interested in driving any collaborations with other communities and what we can do on that front.
Mm-hmm. Mark?
I'm Mark Waite. I'm interested in platforms because of the complexities that are introduced by many different external environments where we run, like Docker, like Alpine, like AIX or Solaris, or variants of Linux. And it's sort of driven by a plugin I maintain. The Git plugin has some surprising dependencies on Git versions, and we have a wide range of Git versions from 1.8 in CentOS 6 all the way to 2.18 on Windows. So lots of differences that cause me to be very interested in platforms.
Mm-hmm. Devin?
Yeah, for me, it's similar to Mark. I mean, I see that in Jenkins, a lot of the complexity, and tricky bits and things come from having to support so many different platforms. So to me, it's interesting to kind of stay on top of that discussion to make sure that, I can review code better and help make Jenkins better and more reliable.
Mm-hmm. Alex?
I'm interested in this just from the front of helping better the user experience. I noticed that people come into either Gitter or IRC and kind of complain about things, and hopefully it can help improve some of those things.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, there are several people who create the most of requests in Jenkins Jira, and Alex Earl is one of them. So yeah, we face a lot of various platform-related issues coming to Jenkins Jira. Yeah. So do we have anybody else on the call? I guess no. So we can just continue the meeting then. Okay, so we have several topics in the agenda. So maybe we could briefly discuss Tracy's proposal about, not proposal, there is a Jenkins Online meetup scheduled to August 23rd, if I recall correctly. And it's about open J9 support for Jenkins. So maybe Tracy, you could briefly describe what is this meeting, because it looks to be really related to the platform-sig interests.
Yes. Yes. So for those who perhaps have maybe heard of IBM J9, in 2017, that was donated to open source and became part of the Eclipse Foundation, and it's now known as Eclipse Open J9. And it's a VM equivalent to Hotspot, but really focused on running applications very cost effectively in the cloud. So I've met part of the team, and they're quite interested in seeing whether Jenkins, well, first of all, we could run Jenkins using it as a VM instead of Hotspot. And secondly, whether it would have some performance improvements. So there's lots of performance improvements being spoken about with Java coming from Java 10 and 11. But what OpenJ9 is touting is that you could get some significant sort of memory footprint improvements and performance improvements using Java 8. So the idea with the webinar next Thursday is to invite the OpenJ9 folks to give us a rundown of the VM, tell us what it is and where their thinking is in terms of how they've designed it, go through a quick demo, and with any luck, we might like to try it with a Jenkins Docker container and sort of see if we can get it first to run, and second to see if there's any sort of startup time improvements or any other optimizations we could start thinking about doing. So my understanding is that this might not necessarily be straightforward because Jenkins already has some sort of AOT optimizations, but I think we're just going to take it as a bit of an exploratory session and get folks discussing it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. There are not so many optimizations in Jenkins official images. So there is a lot of optimizations in some packaging flows contributed by Sam Van Oort. But regarding the Docker image, it has almost no optimizations configured for Java.
And if I remember correctly too, I thought it was like OpenJ9 tries to do some ahead of time compilation, but for Jenkins, it's not necessarily possible to do that for all cases just because of how Jenkins does things dynamically.
Do they already provide a Docker container for OpenJ9 in general?
Sorry, do they provide? I didn't quite catch the question.
Do they have a Docker image for OpenJ9 in general that we could use in a Docker Compose? Or
yes, there is. I'll try and find you a link. So I think if you look on adopt OpenJDK, that's where you can mostly get a distribution of OpenJDK with OpenJ9, and I believe there's some Docker containers there. But if not, I'll find you a link, and you can come to the webinar next Thursday.
So, Tracy, when we had, if I recall correctly, J9 is the virtual machine that was actually defaulted on AIX, if I remember right. And I think we had attempts to run on AIX previously with some surprises. So I expect some surprises, as has been noted, but it sounds like cool technology.
Right. So in Jenkins Jira, we have a label called IBM Java, or actually Java IBM. And it contains a lot of issues, and most likely they apply to OpenJ9 as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So
I cannot show it right now because when I search for issues, I usually see a lot of security issues as well. Something I'm working on with Jenkins infrastructure team, but yeah, so far I cannot easily browse Jira during the meetings. Yeah, and actually Docker packaging is a serious question for us because yeah, the next topic is about Java 10 plus support. But yeah, when Oracle stops providing OpenJDK images, and it's going to happen in January or February of 2019, we may have issues with our current official Jenkins images. So yeah, maybe it's a good time to start looking at alternatives.
Yeah. So nothing more for me to add other than if you're available, please come join next week. And we're hoping from off the back of that, we can find ways to collaborate. Certainly we could look at the issues that have already been opened on J9 and yeah, see if we can bring those communities closer together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be really nice. So yeah, I will make sure that this meeting is also referenced from platform-sig. Yeah, so it wouldn't hurt to have it. And let's see what we can get there. Yeah, just a second. It was here, I guess. Okay. So anything else about this topic? I guess no. So thanks a lot, Tracy. Yeah, it would be really nice to have such kind of discussion and demos. Looking forward to that. Okay, and the next topic, Java again. It's JEP 2.11 status. So back to what we had in June, we had Jenkins Java 10 plus hackathon. At this hackathon, we had something like 26 participants, and we did a lot in order to verify Jenkins behavior on these Java versions, and we were pretty successful. So there was a series of blog posts on Jenkins.io describing how to run Jenkins with Java 10 plus. For example, here's a blog post for that. And yeah, we also updated, not updated, we created Java support pages during the hackathon. We created some prototypes. But the problem with that, the patches we delivered, they are not all available in Jenkins weekly releases so far. So we have a separate feature branch for Java 10 support and a separate feature branch for Java 11 support. They're automatically published in Docker, but so far we haven't made it generally available in weekly releases. So this is a continuation of the hackathon story. Regarding the hackathon, yeah, there was a lot of blog posts, and yeah, I was about creating another summary, but I guess that there was a blog post from Tracy which summarizes the hackathon results well. It may take a while to find it. Yeah, this one. And yeah, if you're interested to know more about the hackathon, there are also YouTube videos with all summary presentations. Probably I have this video in speaker deck. It's Google.com, I guess. Oh, yeah. So this is a summary presentation from the hackathon, which summarizes all the activities. But yeah, everybody on the call has already participated in this hackathon. So my question is, do we want to briefly summarize the status in detail, or is this introduction fine with you?
Actually, it would help me to have another summary, Oleg. If you don't mind giving a brief summary. In particular, the thing that I'm not clear on yet is what's the upcoming big picture for the Java 11 plan? Really, in next year, does Oracle stop distributing Java 8? That kind of thing.
So I cannot speak for Oracle. What I can say is, yeah, there is a Java 10 support page. Yeah, Oracle Java SE support roadmap. So this document changes pretty much frequently. But what you can see here that now commercial user end of public updates is January 2019. So before end of July, it was September 2018. So this date moved, and there is a number of stars which says that this date may be changed again. But yeah, anyway, whatever happens, at some point, Java 8 is going to be deprecated, and the first security release not provided by Oracle for Java 8 will be a problem for Jenkins community, because all our official packages transit level depend on OpenJDK.
Thanks for that clarity. Thank you very much.
Right. So we package OpenJDK on our own. It's Docker packages, and it's also Windows packages. So for Windows packages, we will have a discussion a bit later, because yeah, there is Windows installers for 60-bit platforms, which is also quite related. For Docker packages, yeah, once you lose official image, you may have a problem. It doesn't mean that it's an immediate problem, but even now we get a lot of requests from users who try to run Jenkins with Java 10. Obviously, Jenkins fails because you need to configure model paths to run it correctly. So what we did, we disabled running of it by default in weekly releases. We offered a flag, enable future Java, and we offered the guidelines. So here's this blog post which describes how to actually, oh no, it's a Java support page, and here's a link to the guidelines. So effectively now, in order to run with Java 10, you need a command line like that. And if you run for weekly release, you get everything except in pipeline working. For Java 11, it's even more tricky now. So this is the current state. You can run, but that's it. And we keep getting issue reports from users, because users still try to run old Jenkins versions before 27. Yeah. So currently for LTS, you can still run on Java 10, and you won't get a link to this guideline. So it confuses users. Once we get a new LTS released in September, it will be a bit better. But I think we still need to work towards Java 11 support in Jenkins core. Regarding Java 10, nobody will care about it since September. So, yeah, this is the current state. And yeah, we have JEP 2.1.1 for Java 10 and 11 support. So this JEP was created as a part of the hackathon. I mean, not as a part of the hackathon, but as a follow-up. And yeah, there is a discussion thread in the platform-sig mailing list. So it would actually be nice to get some feedback about this JEP. I've got some internal feedback already, but yeah, I think that we need to start discussing it. Currently, I'm the BDFL delegate. So one of the reasons why I proposed this meeting is to discuss this JEP. And yeah, if somebody went through it and can provide feedback, I would really appreciate that. Or I can just summarize it so it simplifies the review. What would you prefer, guys?
So I will certainly do a review of it myself. Is one of the thoughts that came to my mind was, is this a thing that we could take as a topic for the Hackfest after Jenkins World while we're all together and actively attack this thing to get, so end of September, I certainly will review the document, give feedback as time allows.
Yep. So I think we could do that. So the amount of effort needed to get it over the fence isn't that big. So I mean, Jenkins core patches are pretty much staged. And yeah, probably I should just show you epics. So what I did in this job, I've tried to create a minimal list of things we need to do in order to make Java 11 now support official. So firstly, there is a special epic for that in Jenkins Jira. This epic lists only must-have tasks from my point of view. Just a second. Okay. So here's this list. And effectively, the most of this list is about test automation. Because, yeah, we get Jenkins running in Java already. So we know about particular metaspace leaks causing issues in pipeline. So it's related to this task upstream Groovy update to the master branch. So when we make this update, there are memory leaks in pipeline, job DSL, etc. And we need some plugin patches. So this is one of the critical issues we need to address, but the rest are rather about testing. So yeah, you may see that support of specifying Java levels in ATH, in PCT. Generally, we just need a test automation flow in order to run test automation at all. Because now we do not do any kinds of auto tests for Java 10 or 11, even in our development branches. So what our current Docker files in feature branches do, they just run a spot check against Java 8 actually. So yeah, Jenkins file is here, but yeah, there is nothing specific to Java 11 now. So this is what we need to do. And yeah, if we agree to reduce number of test automation, we could definitely get it over the fence during the hackathon. Whether we want it, it's a subject for discussion.
So given the audience that's typically at the Hackfest is not a bunch of testers, it's more commonly a bunch of developers, I'm a little worried if we're test heavy here, that the only way to get it over the bar at the Hackfest is to reduce the amount of testing that we're going to set as our required.
Yeah. So I think we could do at least some bits at the hackathon. So, I mean, we still need to park some core patches. We need to update branches. The current tasks do not require much coding. They mostly require integration of changes. So they will need some core maintainers, maybe me or Daniel Beck on standby mode, so that we can review and integrate changes and other such bits. But yeah, if we are ready to organize that, why not? Yeah. If you ask me, I do not think that hackathon is the best format for getting it over the fence.
It is not. Okay, and that's because the work needs a broader set of people than maybe attending there?
Yeah, so firstly, it's not a coding project in general now. It requires some coding, but mostly reviews, integration. Of course, all kinds of test automation need coding, but it's a separate thing. Hacking pipeline during the hackathon, it's a bit tricky. And yeah, the second part, that it's not a kind of joint project. It's a number of smaller projects which not really linked to each other. So you do not get much community bonding during the hackathon.
Great, but, thank you. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so we could try, but yeah, I think that yeah, maybe we need to take particular bits from this list. Because yeah, in addition to must-have things, we also have a lot of not so must-have things. I mean, for example, there is old epic for Java 10 compatibility. Yeah, there are still a lot of different reflective thing cleanups. There are other features we need to deliver. There are things which needs to be detached from Jenkins core or redocumented. So there is still some work we could do. Okay, so does anybody want from participants want to work on that during the hackathon?
I plan to work on it during the hackathon, but I'm mostly a testing kind of role, so it's a good fit for what you were describing as the task. That's my big picture for the Hackfest is this will be my focus.
Okay, so I will likely join the party. Unless I have some critical things to do with pluggable storage after Jenkins Vault. But yeah. So yeah, I think we can park the hackathon part for now. Are there any other questions about this job? Yeah. So maybe it's an interesting part to discuss then. So regarding the timeline. So of course, the most ideal thing we could ever do is to make Java 11 available shortly after Java 11 release. But yeah, in the job, I didn't define any specific timing so that it's done when it's done. And yeah, when it's done, it gets into LTS maybe a few months later. So for assuming that we work on that during the hackathon, continue after the hackathon, and let's say get it over the fence by Jenkins Vault in Nice. Yeah, it's a bold assumption, but okay. Then it will land in the LTS, which will be delivered in December. And I'd say this is the most optimistic timeline for Java 11 support now. And yeah, if we get it later, then yeah, I don't see much problem. But yeah, I would definitely prefer to get it landed by January in LTS, because if Oracle follows the current policy, starting from January, we will start having issues with that. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So the idea then is we work at trying to get the changes that are currently not in weekly, but are sitting on the separate branches into weeklies, so that they are well enough vetted that by the December LTS, that those changes will be in LTS, even if the LTS does not officially support Java 11. It gives us the facility then after the release of Java 11 to do verification.
Yeah, something LTS. Like that.
Yeah.
So actually, we already landed the most critical changes. So if you take a look at Jenkins, so let's take, should be here. So there should be Java 10, yeah, Java 10 support branch. And the diff from the master is actually only few changes. So what we really miss in master now, we miss Groovy update, as I described. And there is also one significant change which we haven't addressed yet, is this one. Just a second. What is it? It's from KK. Oh, I'm not signed up, so I don't have automatic filters.
Maybe search JaxB or...
Yeah, JaxB. I found it. So JaxB is one of the issues why we need to provide such crappy guidelines, because JaxB is a thing which has been moved to a model in Java 9. And then in Java 11, it has been completely removed from the default Java distribution. So if you want to run on Java 11 now, you need to download JaxB components. Then you need to bundle them somehow or reference them in class path. So yeah, there is the current command call. Obviously, it's not a problem for Docker or whatever because we just imply it in our packaging we provide. But for all other usages, yeah, it's not comfortable. So KK has evaluated multiple options during the hackathon, and yeah, firstly he tried to do it in a plugin. With that, there are some issues because we still have core components depending on these libraries. We started cleaning that up, but yeah, there are still some bits to do. But class loading from plugins didn't work correctly. In the experiments, Jesse Bleak has commented on that, and maybe it still works, but we still have an option to just bundle versions into the Word file. So this is the current proposal. We haven't tested it yet, so I just verified that it works well on Java 8 or Java 11. But yeah, the problem is that it bundles particular versions. These versions are created for Java 8, and actually these versions are far behind from what is offered now for Java 11. So I'm not 100% sure that it's a correct way to go, but yeah, somebody needs to evaluate it, to test it, and to discover downsides. A proposal from OpenJDK Jigsaw project participants was to do that, just to bundle that. But yeah, it's a bit tricky for us. But yeah, if we go after Java 11 support in LTS, I would definitely want to get something like that landed, so that it happens transparently to users. Because yeah, staying in this mode is not something comfortable. Okay, so this is what we have now. But yeah, I believe that if there is some interest from a community, we could deliver that. It just needs some time.
But again, that is not a topic that's well suited to, that's a single, mostly testing effort, or a single person experimenting, not something at the Hackfest where we've got people all together in the same space.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did a lot of such exploratory testing during the hackathon. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that the patch will work, but yeah, I think that testing of this thing is not hackathon friendly. It rather needs somebody to set up all kinds of test automation and run a Jenkins Word file through that. So yeah, generally it just ends up with resources. Okay, so probably we should move on to the next topics. So what I really expect from SIG participants is to get some feedback regarding the JEP, regarding the proposal, so that we can understand whether this scope is enough to just to get it in the weekly. And yeah, any feedback will be appreciated, because here I did some bold assumptions. For example, saying that you do not need to build Jenkins on JDK 11. And yeah, some proofreading for the points in the document would be really useful.
Is there any preferred place for feedback? Is this still a PR as a JEP, or is it?
Yeah, so pull requests if you want to propose a change, or if you want to just comment developer platform-sig mailing list, you can just comment in this thread.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, let's move to the next topic. So the next topic is quality outreach. So there was some activity in the background, but actually what we did is that yeah, Jenkins project has been added to the quality outreach program list. So you can go through the document, and here's Jenkins. Yeah, actually, there are lots of Jenkinses because many projects run CI for verification, I think. But yeah, so this is the current state here. So we are listed as Java 8 compatible, and there's something like preliminary exploratory testing for Java 9, for Java 10, Java 11, and Java 12. Yep, right. So yeah, this is the current stage. So we have started doing something, but we haven't started automated testing, which is actually expected from quality outreach participants. So currently we have KK as a contact in this list. We could potentially change the contact to platform-sig. But it's also a question of what is expected, so it's work in progress. But what I wanted to say at this meeting that actually we're here, and maybe if we hit some issues, for example, if we discover that some of upstream libraries are not compatible with Java 10 or 11, we could use quality outreach resources to reach out to these library maintainers and probably to do something. So yeah, it was just a brief status update. So it's work in progress. Any questions about that? Okay. Yeah, I guess no. Okay. So, and then we can switch to a more interesting topic about Windows installers. Alex, are you still on the call? Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so surprisingly, it's also related to Java, but not exactly related. So yeah, currently we have an issue with Jenkins project because in the download page, you can download installer for Windows. What does it mean? That we have automated packaging, which packages every LTS or weekly release for Windows. But just to be clear, it's Windows 32-bit. So it means that this installer is built for Windows 32-bit. It bundles 32-bit Java. And when you get installed, it goes to program files x86. And yeah, it's not exactly a big problem, but it's still a bit confusing. But the problem is that we know that Jenkins cannot work in 32-bit mode when you run on a 64-bit operating system. There are several reasons for that, but one of the main reasons is that we have Windows Process Management component, and this component explicitly required us to be running in 64-bit DLL when you run it on a 64-bit system. Why does it matter? This library is being used for termination of processes when you abort a build in Windows, for example. Due to some design specifics of Jenkins, it checks environment variables when it terminates processes. And in order to check environment variables, it needs to directly read process memory, parse it, and then retrieve some flags from there. It's just one of the issues of Windows API, but short summary that if you run Jenkins in 32-bit mode, or if you run an agent in 32-bit mode on a 64-bit system, it's not going to work. And our packaging for 64-bit machines actually does it by default. So it means that if you install Jenkins on a new Windows server without Java installed, then you just get a broken configuration out of the box. And there are several ways to resolve that. One would be to follow approach used by the most of projects, is to offer separate packages for 32 or 64-bit systems. Then we could just deprecate 32-bit packaging at all, or maybe remove Java from Windows packaging so that it cannot be self-installed easily. Java would be the prerequisite, but at least it would be wouldn't have such behavior issues. And the last option, just remove Windows installers at all, probably. Because, yeah, I do not know so many people who really use Windows installers nowadays. Yeah, it would be rather preferable to just replace it by bare metal WAR file, or maybe use Chocolate distribution like Alex proposed. So yeah, there are several options, and yeah, I wanted to discuss these options because yeah, we need to do something, and all these options have their own disadvantages. So it would be great to get some feedback from you guys, and then yeah, probably I would create a job for that. So there was some feedback in the mailing list, but yeah, I guess the feedback was to firstly deprecate 32-bit probably, unless we can support that, and yeah, then other distribution management.
So, yeah, that's the way Oracle is going, is only releasing a 64-bit Java, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's any problem myself in deprecating and only going with 64-bit releases of Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
Even Windows in newer versions, I think I don't think they're really releasing 32-bit versions or supporting them anyway.
Yeah, when you say newer versions, 2008 R2, right, which was probably 2010 or 2012. So yeah, newer versions like 7 years old.
I was triaging an issue on a Windows Embedded just 3 weeks ago, and it was 32-bit. And Windows Embedded is a thing which runs almost all POS terminals in the world. So I would say that it's still pretty popular. But on the other hand, even if we deprecate 32-bit support, it's not a showstopper because everybody will be able to install it just by downloading WAR file. There is not really much state-of-art things in the packaging itself.
I guess one of my big questions is how beneficial is the installer versus just running the WAR directly?
So what installer does, it automatically installs Jenkins as a Windows service. This is the first difference, and yeah, I guess this is another difference that it has update flow. So with the installer, you can install Jenkins and also update Jenkins. And when you update Jenkins, the installer is smart enough to terminate the process, update, and then restart the process, something like that.
If I recall correctly, on Windows, inside of Jenkins, there's like a button somewhere that lets you install it as a service. Is that right? Is this the installer we're talking about? Or is that different?
It's, I think it's different.
Yeah,
so there are two kinds of installer in Jenkins for Windows. So one, you can just go to the download page, click here, and here you just download a zip file, and this zip file contains MSI. So it's a Microsoft installer. It does the job. There is automatic packaging. It's located here. Yeah, so here you can find what this installer actually does. So yeah, all the stuff. This is one way of installation. And another way of installation that Jenkins itself offers an option to install Jenkins as a service. So yeah, if I recall correctly, it's in the Windows core.
Yeah, there's a resource.
Jenkins core. Yeah, so this option, what it does, Windows installer link. So when you start Jenkins from the WAR file, it checks whether it runs on Windows. And if it runs on Windows, it offers a button in the web interface, which offers to install as a Windows service. And then you click this button, and the installation fails because on all modern Windows versions, in order to run installation of a service, you have to run with local administrator permissions. So you would either need to run Jenkins WAR as administrator, or when the installation fails, you get all Windows Service wrapper files, and you can restart the installation from the CLI as an administrator. So there are a few options, but yeah, generally you can install Windows Service in the same way, in such way. Yeah, so if we deprecate MSI for 32-bit systems, then we still retain this flow. So you will be still able to install Jenkins as a service from web UI. But yeah, whether it's comfortable enough or not, it's less comfortable. But if we talk only about 32-bit systems, I think that it's fine. And yeah, actually, one of the main concerns of supporting 32-bit systems is that currently we have Jenkins weekly and LTS release flow. This flow is being driven by KK. And actually, if we make him to release 2 versions of Windows, it increases the effort to ship every release. And obviously, it also increases a chance of mistakes, and versions may be updated improperly or whatever. So I would rather prefer to have only a single installation available on the Jenkins IO side. And if we agree that 64-bit installation is fine, I would rather replace it and create a JEP to document the Windows 32-bit support deprecation.
Yeah, my full support to deprecate 32-bit MSI packaging, ship 64-bit only, isn't there still, we can deprecate 32-bit as MSI, we could choose instead to say, yeah, so deprecate 32-bit is yes for me, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is for the master, right? It's not even for agents. So agents can still be 32-bit if necessary.
Even master can be still be 32-bit.
Right.
So we need the installer, nothing else.
Right. So I could still, for whatever reason, choose to run Jenkins.war on a 32-bit Windows platform, and it should continue to work. The thing I don't have is an MSI-based installer. For me, the MSI installer has so many other challenges hiding in it that, yeah, I'd rather just deprecate 32-bit.
What do you think, Alex?
I agree. I think I think what we're going to find is the majority of masters are going to be 64-bit, regardless. I think people may have agents that are 32-bit, but if you're running a Jenkins master, it's most likely you're using a server OS. And so I think most server OSs now are 64-bit. So I think I'm fully in support of deprecating the 32-bit.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think we have a plan here. So I will just write a short JEP to document that and try to submit it by the next meeting. Okay.
Now, the other alternatives are not exclusive of that alternative. Yep. You're going to take us through those conversations. Great.
Yeah, so I think it's something we really need to discuss. So just to provide some context, Chocolate is one of the package managers for Windows. So it's pretty similar to Brew in Mac or to whatever apt-get in Unix platforms. And actually, if you take a look at the Chocolate, it's actually NuGet, but package manager. So NuGet is a package manager for libraries, code dependencies, and Chocolate is just a thing which uses NuGet and which offers installation flows. At least, it's my elevator pitch for Chocolate. But yeah, maybe Alex could clarify it a bit more.
Yeah, so it allows you to kind of wrap up different installs. So you can do Xcopy type deployment, which is basically just you have like a zip file and you unzip it locally. It also supports installing from MSIs. So there are a lot of things. I kind of started putting together a version of a chocolatey package for Jenkins. There's one out there already. It's not done by an official channel, so if there are, it's not going to be controlled or updated from Jenkins, the Jenkins project, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's already behind the last security release.
Right, exactly. So I think it'd be important to have, as part of the weekly release, the ability to, upload the new chocolatey package and so forth. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is how it could incorporate into the Jenkins build.
Alternative
packaging and stuff like that.
Yeah, alternative way would be to have a trigger. For example, the weird thing that we cannot have a webhook for Jenkins release in the current state. But yeah, I hit it when I was doing Jenkins experimental Docker packaging prototypes. But what we can do is we can we can have a webhook from Docker Hub. So when Docker package gets deployed, we can invoke a hook somewhere in order to trigger the build of Chocolatey. And yeah, it can be not even trusted CI, but something like up there, for example, if you want to have a shortcut.
So the benefit with that would be that Kosuke wouldn't have to do anything himself.
Yeah, right.
Well, and it appears from reading that chocolatey page that package is up for adoption. So that the maintainer of the chocolatey package that's out there in the community would love to have it adopted, apparently.
Yeah, I can see that. We also had I'm a maintainer on another open source project. We had kind of a community member that had put together an IronPython chocolatey package, and basically I went in and provided details that I was the maintainer of that, and they allowed me to take over that. So that shouldn't be a problem either in terms of taking over the Jenkins package on chocolatey. I think KK would probably just have to do some work to show that he's a maintainer, or someone from the core team or something would have to do that, but I don't think it'd be a problem.
Yeah, right. So I could probably take ownership of this package for now and add others, or you, Alex, could do the same. So yeah, and then we can figure out what would be the ownership model.
Well, one thing that, as I was looking at the chocolatey package, you can have dependencies, and so I was looking at having a dependency on the JRE8. What would be nice, and this is probably an improvement to the MSI installer, is that we would wrap with this chocolatey is to check for an existing JRE and ask the user if they want to use that, rather than installing the versions with the MSI. So that's something I can take a look at as well. It's something like when you're installing like Tomcat, for instance. Tomcat will go and look and try and find an existing JRE and use that rather than using any. It does pre-package one as well, but if it finds one, it allows you to use that one, which I think would be a good enhancement to the MSI.
Right. So this is this thing, and I can create a ticket for that. So I think that we could probably do it as a separate change. But yeah, I think it's something we could also do. But yeah, the problem is that this bit may be actually breaking one.
And maybe we don't just remove it at first. Maybe what we can do is add in a search for an existing one. And if an existing one is there, ask the user whether they want to use the existing one or the packaged one. And it could be, we could also make it into an option for the MSI, so that when we do silent installs from things like Chocolatey, we can specify we want to use the existing JRE that will be installed by Chocolatey itself because of dependencies. So I mean, there are a couple things we could do to mitigate any breaking changes for users, to make it less breaking. So
yeah, so
go ahead. Excuse my interruption.
No, I just wanted to say that, yeah, of course we can do all of these options. It's rather a matter of who is doing that. But
So for me, it sounds like, Alex, you have already experience with Chocolatey. That would lobby that, at least for me, that he should be the de facto leader on that exercise. I'd be delighted to learn more, but I'm a novice, whereas he's got prior experience. So I think, Alex, if you're willing, let's put that on your shoulders.
Yeah, that's fine. I've done a few Chocolatey packages for internal things at work, so I have a bit of experience. There's some stuff that I don't know, and I've also worked with Wix, which is the Windows installer framework that the MSI is built using, which is a fun technology. It can be pretty tough to work with, but I do have experience there, so I'd be happy to help in that front for sure.
Yeah, let me make you happy. Oh no, it's Wix's. But yeah, it's Wix. Yeah, it's Wix.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, my euphemism detector went off when you said fun, Alex. That was great. Very nice.
Yeah. Dwarf Fortress meaning of fun, I guess. Alex, does this action item look good to you?
Yeah, it looks great. I'd be happy to do that.
So I don't know that it's worth an action item, but Alex, I would love to have access to a Chocolatey package so that I could simplify my regression test infrastructure maintenance on my Windows machines. So if you need a tester, pick me.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely involve people. I'll probably post something to the developers mailing list once I have something. I'll probably create a Git repo for it initially. That could probably be rolled into the Jenkins infra or wherever the packaging stuff is. So it could be kicked off and run and stuff like that. If you have any feedback in terms of like options that you would want to be able to specify for the Jenkins install, because Chocolatey allows you to pass parameters to the install. So I don't know what's available in terms of what the MSI supports in terms of parameters and stuff like that, but I'll look at that. But if there's anything in addition to what might be there, let me know and I can take that into account as well.
Okay, regarding the infrastructure requirements, do you need something for that? Because our main problem is that we don't have infrastructure to test the Windows installer thing within CI Jenkins IO. How I work it around. Currently, I'm a maintainer of Windows Service Wrapper. So what I do testing in Ampere, actually. Yeah, actually, and all kinds of release automation there as well. So it's one of the ways how you could automate service testing if you really need that. Maybe not the ideal thing, but at least it does the job.
So Oleg, it's that because we certainly have Windows machines on ci.jenkins.io, it's that we're not allowed to damage them by installing services for test purposes?
So currently our Windows machines are being provisioned from Asia, but if I understand the setup correctly, they are not single-shot machines. So it means that while one machine is connected, another job may pick it up. And obviously, in order to run anything for Windows installer testing, you need to run Jenkins agent as administrator. And yeah, there are so many reasons why it's wrong. So yeah,
okay,
it's something which shouldn't exist on the default installation.
So do they have Docker support on Azure for Windows Docker images?
No, I guess I can ask Olivier because there was a question about that recently. Yeah, but do you really want to test services in Docker?
My answer, no, but just because I'm skeptical of Windows Docker is hard. It's a very different model for me. And so I wasn't sure we wanted to do that. It would require getting permission from Olivier, and yeah, I'm open to others.
Yeah, if you want to do service testing in whatever Jenkins instance, we will likely have to try Windows Docker. Or we will need to somehow configure provisioning of single-shot VMs from Asia, which is probably doable, but it definitely requires sign-off from infrastructure team before we even start planning it.
Right.
I think that it's something we could do if needed.
I think there are probably other various people who would like Windows Docker support on CI Jenkins IO. So if we need more justification, I'm sure, like, Jesse has mentioned it before, the pipeline team could use various things.
Okay, so I can check availability. I have never thought that it may be possible to run to test services in Windows Docker. Maybe we could try. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. So I believe that having chocolatey packaging would be something reasonable anyway. I'm not sure how many. No, I don't. Yeah. So here 4,000 downloads since December. So yeah, it's still a pretty big chunk, especially since this version was probably insecure by December. Okay. So yeah, something we could, extra adoption would definitely help. Okay. So just a short action item recap. Open gDavid G9 to platform-sig. Then for installers, I think we still need to deprecate 32-bit installer version anyway. Then chocolatey and Windows Docker availability. And yeah.
Now, one item that I thought was potentially separable was removing Java from the Windows packaging, or is that a breaking change, Oleg, and therefore it needs a separate exercise?
As Alex said, it may be done in a non-breaking mode.
Okay, so in the context of the chocolatey work, that'd be the place where we look at a way to do that non-breaking. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I can add action item for that. Okay. Does it look good to you?
Yes.
So yeah, regarding Java 11, do we want to do something before the hackathon, or do we park the discussion for now? Yeah, I will definitely appreciate feedback in the job. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't do anything before the hackathon myself. I'll give you feedback on the JEP. That I think I can do, but I can't provide any substantial time before Jenkins World.
Yeah, I think same for me. So we can just start preparing this activity. So by the time we meet there, we have some plan of action. Okay. So anything else to discuss today? We have a task to set up a time slot for regular meetings, but I think it makes sense to take it offline. So I will just create a thread. And yeah, I think that the next meeting, so we have Eclipse Open J9 next week. So I think it's 23rd of August. My Firefox doesn't localize to English. So yeah, and this will be the meeting, and then we could schedule something maybe when we have updates on these topics. I mean, this one, because it seems that we can iterate here even now. Does it work for you?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, maybe we meet in 2 or 3 weeks then. Let's follow up in the discussion list.
Sounds good.
Okay, then thank you, everybody. Yep. So just to repeat, this discussion has been recorded, so it will be published in YouTube. And if you have any questions, just join our GitHub chat so that we can discuss the things there. Okay. So yeah, then thanks everybody who participated in the call, and thanks to everyone who watched it. Yeah, I'll just stop the broadcast. Bye.